In a small, isolated village surrounded by dense forests, there lived a young girl named Emily. She had been battling a mysterious illness for months. Every day, her health deteriorated, leaving her frail and weak. The villagers whispered that it was the work of dark forces, but Emily believed it was just fate. Her life was spent in the shadow of sickness, and despite the best efforts of the village healer, nothing seemed to help. Her family was poor, and there were no other options available. Emily's only escape from the pain was the beauty of the surrounding forest, where she would go to gather herbs in the hopes of finding something to ease her suffering. One chilly evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Emily ventured deep into the forest. The trees towered above her, their branches creaking in the wind. The cold air sent shivers down her spine, but she continued walking, hoping that the herbs she sought would bring relief. As she moved deeper into the woods, she heard something unusual, a soft rustle of movement in the trees, followed by a faint whisper of footsteps. Turning around, Emily saw a figure emerging from the shadows, a woman who appeared out of nowhere. The woman was unlike anyone Emily had ever seen. Her long, dark hair flowed like silk, and her pale skin seemed almost too flawless. Her eyes, though, were the most captivating feature, deep, dark, and filled with an ancient, unspoken knowledge. Emily froze, unable to move or speak. The stranger took slow, deliberate steps toward her, her gaze never leaving Emily's face. As she approached, Emily felt a strange sense of calm wash over her, yet a chill ran down her spine. There was something about this woman that was both comforting and terrifying at the same time. "Are you lost, dear?" the woman asked in a voice that was soft, almost hypnotic. Emily, still unsure of what to say, nodded slowly. "I am Drusilla," the woman continued, her eyes narrowing with interest. "And you, my dear, are very ill." Emily was taken aback. How could this woman know about her condition? It felt as though Drusilla could see into her soul, revealing her deepest suffering. Emily's heart skipped a beat. She had heard stories about strange figures wandering the forests, but she never imagined one could be standing in front of her. Drusilla smiled gently, as if sensing Emily's thoughts. "I can help you," she said. "I can give you what you seek, but it comes with a price." The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Emily's curiosity and desperation grew, but so did the fear in her chest. What kind of help could this woman offer? And at what cost? Drusilla's gaze locked onto hers, and for the first time in months, Emily felt a flicker of hope. But little did she know, the offer she was about to receive would change her life forever. As the days passed, Emily's condition worsened. Her once bright eyes were now dull and clouded, her pale skin growing even more fragile. Her body felt as though it was slowly giving up, each breath harder than the last. Despite the best efforts of the villagers to nurse her back to health, nothing seemed to work. Emily's world became a blur of pain and hopelessness, and the villagers began to fear that she might not last much longer. It was on the fourth day after her meeting with Drusilla that Emily ventured into the forest again. She felt an inexplicable pull, as if something or someone was calling her. When she reached the clearing where she had first encountered Drusilla, the woman was already waiting for her. This time, there was no gentle smile or soft greeting. Drusilla's expression was serious, even dark. "You're fading, Emily," Drusilla said, her voice almost a whisper. "And there is only one way to save you." Emily stood frozen, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew what Drusilla was about to say, but she didn't want to hear it. "I don't want to die," Emily whispered, barely able to keep the tears at bay. "Please, help me." Drusilla stepped closer, her eyes intense and full of sorrow. "I can save you, but the cost will be high. If you drink my blood, you will live forever. You will be like me. You will be a creature of the night, a vampire, cursed to walk this earth for eternity." The words sent a chill through Emily's bones. She stepped back, shaking her head. "No, I don't want to become like you. I just want to live, like a normal person." Drusilla's expression softened for a moment, a flicker of sadness crossing her face. "I understand, Emily. I have lived centuries and seen many souls fade away. But you must understand, if you do not accept this, your time will soon be up. You will die, and nothing can change that." Emily felt a heavy weight on her chest, her breaths coming quicker. Drusilla's words rang in her ears like a cruel truth she couldn't escape. Her illness was taking everything from her. The thought of losing everything, her life, her future, was unbearable. But to become like Drusilla, to never see the sun again, it was too much to bear. "You're saying I have no choice," Emily whispered, her voice trembling. Drusilla nodded slowly. "You have a choice, Emily. But the longer you wait, the closer death comes for you." The air grew still, the forest silent except for the sound of Emily's heartbeat. She was torn, her body screaming for relief, her mind resisting the dark truth before her. "Please, don't let me die," Emily whispered, her voice barely audible. "But I don't want to become a monster." Drusilla stepped forward and gently took Emily's hand in hers. "Then you must trust me. Trust that I can save you, but you must choose. This offer is fleeting, and once it's gone, so are you." The tension between them grew thick, a strange and dangerous bond forming in the air. Emily's heart raced as she faced the decision of her life. Would she choose the darkness of immortality to escape her suffering, or would she let death take her, embracing the end of everything she had ever known? Emily sat in the clearing with Drusilla, her mind a whirlwind of confusion. The weight of the decision was too much to bear. She was on the brink of death, yet she had to choose between two impossible options: live forever as a vampire, cursed to walk the earth in darkness, or let her frail body succumb to the illness that had haunted her for months. There was no middle ground, no simple solution. The air around her felt thick, as if the forest itself was waiting for her to make the unthinkable choice. Drusilla stood motionless beside her, watching Emily with a mixture of patience and sorrow. She had seen many people in Emily's position, each one caught between the desire to live and the fear of the eternal price. Drusilla, too, had made a similar decision centuries ago. She had once been human, filled with hope and dreams, but all that was now gone. All that remained was the curse of immortality, a life she had long since learned to accept, one that now made her yearn to save Emily from the same fate. But Drusilla knew the cost. She knew that if Emily drank her blood, she would never be the same. She would lose her humanity, her connection to the world she once knew. The light of the sun, the warmth of a summer breeze, would all be gone forever. There would be no more laughter, no more days spent with friends or family. Emily would become like Drusilla, a creature that wandered through the shadows of eternity, always searching for meaning but finding only darkness. "Emily," Drusilla said softly, breaking the silence. "I understand your fear. I understand your desire to live. But the choice is not as simple as it seems. If you choose my blood, you will never age, never die. But you will also never see the sun again. You will be cursed to walk in the darkness, never knowing true peace." Emily's heart was pounding in her chest. She could feel the weight of Drusilla's words pressing down on her. She wanted to live, she wanted to feel the warmth of the sun on her skin, to breathe in the air of the world she had always known. But she was tired. She was tired of being weak, of struggling every day with the pain that consumed her. The thought of being free from her illness, of escaping the torment she had lived with, was too tempting to ignore. I can't," Emily whispered, her voice breaking. "I can't become like you. I can't live forever in darkness. I just want to be free of this pain." Drusilla's gaze softened, but she did not speak. She knew that Emily was making her decision, but it wasn't easy. Emily's pain, her fear, was palpable, and Drusilla could feel the struggle within her. She had seen many others make the same decision, and she knew it wasn't one that could be taken lightly. Emily's soul was torn between the desire for freedom and the terror of losing herself. Suddenly, Emily's body weakened even further. She collapsed to her knees, gasping for air, the illness rapidly taking its toll. Drusilla knelt beside her, holding her fragile body in her arms. "Please," Emily whispered, her voice barely audible. "I don't want to die." Tears welled in Drusilla's eyes as she stared down at the woman she had come to love. She had hoped Emily would choose life, but the choice had never been hers to make. It had always been Emily's. And now, it seemed the choice had already been made. Emily's body was failing, and Drusilla could feel her slipping away. The moment was fragile, filled with uncertainty. Could Drusilla save Emily? Could she allow herself to become the one thing she had tried to avoid, her own worst fear? The answer seemed clear, but was it too late to make a difference? Drusilla closed her eyes, her heart heavy with grief. She whispered, I can save you, Emily. But it will change everything. But was Emily ready for that change? Or had the choice already been made in the silent moments before? The forest was silent as Emily's body trembled in Drusilla's arms. Her illness had drained her, and she could feel herself slipping away with every weak breath. Emily's skin had become pale, her body frail. Drusilla could feel her life force fading, and she knew the moment of decision had come. I can't let you go like this, Drusilla whispered. She had seen death many times, but this felt different. Emily wasn't just anyone, she was someone who had made Drusilla question her own curse, someone who had made her feel something she hadn't in centuries. Emily's condition worsened, and Drusilla could feel the time slipping away. She needed to make a choice, but Emily did too. If you want to live, you must drink my blood, Drusilla said softly. But remember, once you do, you will never be the same. Emily could barely hold her head up. The illness was consuming her. She wanted to live, to feel the sun on her face, to experience the world as she once had. But the pain was too much. She was tired of fighting it. The thought of escaping it, even if it meant becoming something other than human, was tempting. Drusilla lowered her neck, her skin cool and smooth. Drink, and I will save you, she said, her voice filled with sorrow. But it will cost you your humanity. Without another word, Emily's lips parted, and she sank her teeth into Drusilla's neck. A shock of warmth and power surged through her. The blood was unlike anything she had ever tasted. It was alive, electric, and filled with dark energy. But as she drank, Emily could feel the transformation beginning. The warmth of her human life faded, replaced by a cold, empty hunger. Drusilla pulled away gently, feeling Emily's body stiffen as the change took hold. Emily's once weak body seemed stronger, her senses sharper. But her eyes were no longer the same. They were dark, hollow, and filled with a strange emptiness. You are no longer human, Emily, Drusilla whispered. You are one of us now. The darkness had claimed her. There was no turning back. Emily stood in the clearing, her new senses overwhelmed by the world around her. The night air seemed to pulse with energy, every rustle of leaves, every movement in the shadows now amplified 1,000 times. She could hear Drusilla's heartbeat from yards away, the thrum of blood flowing through her veins. Her own senses were alive in ways she couldn't fully understand, but there was something else, a cold, empty feeling deep within her that couldn't be shaken. What have I become? Emily whispered, her voice trembling. The weight of the transformation pressed down on her like a heavy cloak. She looked down at her hands, fingers that once felt warm and human now cold, almost alien. She could feel the power that surged through her, the thirst for blood that bubbled just below the surface, threatening to consume her. But more than that, she felt a deep sorrow, a loss that gnawed at her soul. Drusilla watched her from a distance, her dark eyes filled with a mixture of pity and understanding. She knew this was not an easy change. Emily had given up everything, the life she once knew, the world she had taken for granted. In return, she had gained immortality, but at a great cost. You will learn to control it, Drusilla said softly, stepping closer. The hunger, the darkness, it will become a part of you. You will adapt, Emily. But you must accept it. You must accept what you are now. Emily turned to face Drusilla, her eyes filled with a silent rage. How can I accept this? I was human. I had a future. And now I'm nothing but a monster. A creature of the night, bound to darkness forever. Drusilla's gaze softened. You are not a monster, Emily. You are still you. But the world you once knew no longer exists for you. It's time to embrace the truth. You are one of us now, and you must learn to live in the shadows. The words hit Emily like a blow, and for a moment, she felt lost. She had once dreamed of a future, of a life filled with hope, love, and warmth. But now, that future was gone. The sun, the moon, the world she had known were all out of her reach. She would never again feel the warmth of the sun on her skin, never again experience the beauty of a normal life. But as the night wrapped itself around her, she realized that maybe there was still a chance. A chance to live, to find meaning in this new life. I don't want to be alone in this, Emily whispered, her voice breaking. You're not alone, Drusilla said softly, placing a hand on her shoulder. I will help you, Emily. You are not the first to walk this path, and you won't be the last. We'll find a way through this darkness together. But as Emily looked into Drusilla's eyes, she knew deep down that the struggle had only just begun. The path ahead was uncertain, and the darkness was still closing in, but she would have to decide whether to embrace her new life or fight against the tide. The choices were endless, but one thing was clear: she was no longer the person she had been. And in this world of shadows, she would have to find a new way to survive.